हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गाये नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरं भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम all of you. We are seeing this beautiful Stotra, Sri Dakshinamurty Stotram by Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya ji. In the beginning, there are these Dhyana Shlokas. So let us chant the Dhyana Shlokas and meditate on the beautiful form of Bhagavan Sri Dakshinamurty. Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varshishthante Vasadrishiganehi Avrutam Brahmanishthaihi Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudramanandarupam Swatma Ramam Muditavadanam Dakshinamurti Midhe Vatavitapi Samipe Bhumivage Nishannam Sakalamuni Jananam Jnanadataramarat त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि। चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः। निधये सर्वविद्यानां विषजे भवरोगिणां गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। हरि ओम हरि ओम। So this is a very beautiful and sublime stotra written by Bhagavan Sri Dakshinamurty ji. There are only 10 verses, and in these 10 verses, Bhagavan not only does namaskar to Bhagavan Sri Dakshinamurty ji, but he also gives the gist of the teachings of all the Upanishads. So Bhagavan Sri Dakshinamurty is a form of Lord Shiva only. Bhagavan Shiva only appeared in the form of Dakshinamurty, facing south, sitting under a banyan tree with lot of elderly disciples surrounding him, and he taught them the knowledge of the Supreme Brahman. He taught through his silence and also by showing the Jnana Mudra with his palm. He showed the Jnana Mudra. This is the Jnana Mudra. So Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. Dakshinamurty is a Yuva Avastha, and he is and all the disciples who are sitting there are very elderly, and they have approached Dakshinamurty Bhagwan to gain that supreme knowledge. They have approached like a student, not like some curious person, not with some inquisitiveness, but as sincere students with a firm, deep desire to know, with jnana, a thirst to know, a thirst which gets quenched only after gaining direct realization, that type of thirst. And they were all dedicated to the path shown by the Vedas. They were rishis. They were following the path of karma kanda, upasana, the different types of upasanas, and they were well established in their path and had purified their antakarana. So their karma and upasana led them to have the jnana about our own self, jnana about this world, and jnana about Ishvara. See, when we are born, we just take birth in this world. The world was already existing before our birth. Our parents were existing before our birth. Then we take birth and slowly become aware of our own personality, of the surrounding, of other people, and we become aware of this world. And as we grow, we develop that thirst to know. We have this jnana in our antakarana, which we carry from our past. Ki who am I? Many little children, they ask their parents, "Oh parent, oh mother, oh father, please tell me, who am I? From where did I come? Where did I come from? How come I came to this, in this family, in this house?" Then we ask about this world also. What is this world? How it functions? How the tree grows? How the bird flies? How the moon remains steady in the space without falling down? So we have a lot of these questions. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So we wonder, looking at this world, and we hear from people that, oh, this is all made by Ishvara. Then we have this question, who is this Ishvara? Where does he live? What is his nature? So with all these questions, we try to get answers, but many times we don't get satisfactory answers. So these rishis, though they were following the path of karma and upasana, but their answers, their questions were not answered. Their doubts were not dispelled. So they went in search of so many teachers, even the great devatas, and finally they approached Dakshinamurty Bhagavan, who was seated under a banyan tree, totally detached from the whole world, with a serene face, a beautiful smile, and a joy on his face. And many descriptions are there of Bhagavan's beautiful form. He has 4 arms. In one arm he holds a japamala. A beautiful japamala is there in Bhagavan's one hand, wherein he does the japa. In one hand, Bhagavan, in another hand, Bhagavan carries a fire, or sometimes a trishul. And in another hand, he carries the Vedas. And one hand, he shows this Jnana Mudra. So Bhagavan has taken the form of a teacher. And here he is teaching the highest students with all the required qualifications of Vivek, Vairagya, Shamadhamadi, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshutvam. He is teaching them through his silence, because they have reached to a very high point in their sadhana and in their purity. And they just require a little bit of push a little bit of a revelation, and they will get enlightened. And that is provided by the deep, sublime silence of Dakshinamurty Bhagavan. The silence arising from the very depth of his being. See, we have these various levels of our speech. We speak loudly, that is the Vaikhari Vani. We speak softly, that is the Madhyama. Then we just know what we will speak, we just see it, that is the Pashyanti. But beyond that is the Paravani, one with that supreme reality, which is totally silent. There are no words, there are no sentences, there are no disturbances in that Vani, in that speech. And only an enlightened person can express, can be established in that silence. And Bhagavan Dakshinamurti, seated in that silence, is expressing that truth, that the silence in me, that is Brahma, and the silence in you, when you quieten your mind, when you quieten your thoughts, when you quieten your speech, when you restrain all your senses from running around, that silence which you experience within and the silence in me is one only. So through this Mauna, he revealed a great teaching, Prakatita Brahma Tattvam. Brahma Tattvam, the knowledge of Brahma, that supreme reality, is called Brahma in our Shastras, in the Upanishads. Brahma means Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Anandam, which is infinite, which is pure existence, pure knowledge, pure bliss. That Brahma, which is the very, pointed out as the very source of this creation, the Nimitta and Upadan Karan of this world, that Brahma, you are. You are that Brahma. So that is conveyed through this silence. Generally, we think, we feel we are the body, we are the mind, we are these limited equipments. But when the teacher tells us that that is the wrong understanding about yourself, you are that Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So that was conveyed by Dakshinamurti to these Rishi Munis through silence. But there were those who could not comprehend this silence. They needed some more guidance, some more support. So to them, Dakshinamurti taught them through this Jnana Mudra. It is so there is this circle formed through the touching of this index finger and the thumb forms a beautiful circle. A circle actually doesn't have a beginning and end. It is beginningless, endless. So it is a beautiful symbolism of that Supreme Brahma. That Supreme Brahma is like a circle. It's a Purna. It's complete. Purnam. It is complete in a circle. But what about these three fingers? These three fingers are expression of that Brahma as this world. The world comes from that Supreme, remains in the Supreme and merges back into Supreme. The whole thing is that Supreme reality. The world which we see is gross, the Stula Jagat, the Sukshma Jagat, and the Karana Jagat. The world which we experience at three levels. At the gross physical level, wherein we experience the five great elements and their expressions as sound, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasagandha, sound, touch, form or colors, taste and fragrance. But at the subtle level, also this world is there. Our senses, our mind is also part of this world. So just as we have our individual sense organs, we have our mind, our intellect. Similarly, there is cosmic mind and intellect. So at a subtle level also the world exists. And when in Pralay, when the whole world dissolves, it goes back into Avyakta, the very source, the unmanifest world, which is one with that Supreme Brahma. Therefore, in the Upanishad also, Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, Sadeva Swami Idam Agra Asid. The teacher, the father tells his son that, hey, Shvetaketu, Idam, this world which you see as Idam, which is seen with various names and forms, that Agre, before these names and forms, this whole world was existing merely as Sat. And now it is not only Sat, but it also expresses in various names and forms. So these three fingers represent this world. Three fingers at the individual level also represents our Stula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, Karana Sharir. Or Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Sushupti Avastha. So we are experiencing this world, we are experiencing these three bodies, we are experiencing these three states of experience. But we have that Brahma only. But not knowing ourselves as Brahma, we identify with this world and we identify with these three bodies and three states of experience. So at present our condition is not of Jnana Mudra, though that is our real nature, but we find ourselves like this, identified with these three. And that is what I am, the Sushupta Atma, the Kshetrajna, the Pratyak Atma, the Pradnya, the Purusha. Various names are there for this. I find myself identified with these three. So identified with the Karana Sharir, that is Avidya. I identify further with the Sukshma Sharir and Stula Sharir and take the Stula and Sukshma Sharir as myself and take the activities of Stula Sharir and Sukshma Sharir as my activities. So I consider myself the Karta, Bhokta, Jnata. That is what I find myself. So we have to first learn to detach ourselves from these three. and recognize ourselves as different from these three. This is constantly present, but this keeps on changing. So we have to separate ourselves from these three and understand that I am that Nitya and this is all Anitya. So first we have to do the Nitya Anitya Vivek. Understand myself, and then with the blessings of the teacher who teaches us that this is that Brahma, this is Ishvara. So we have to identify through surrendering and meditating with that Ishvara and understand our oneness with Ishvara. That I am that Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. I am really that Brahma. So this is a very, what you call, beautiful gesture to indicate that supreme teaching. Just like in the world also, we use various gestures. Like if somebody wins something, they show this sign of victory. Or we want to point out something, we point out with the finger. Similarly, the supreme reality is pointed out with this Jnana Mudra. So many of the disciples understood this mudra and they gained that enlightenment. But Bhagavan is, he doesn't teach only with this silence and with mudra. But Bhagavan has also taken the form of various other teachers and he teaches through speech also. Bhagavan Shivji, he taught to Parvati ji and he taught to many other Rishi Munis who approached him. And Bhagavan Shiva only taking the form of Bhagavan Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, he taught us the same supreme reality through words. So Bhagavan holding that Vedas in one of his hands, he also explains the Vedas. He conveys the real essence, the message of the Vedas. And that Bhagavan taught by taking the form of Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya ji. But sometimes we don't understand the words also. We find it very difficult to comprehend the subtle meanings of these sentences. So Bhagavan, out of his compassion as a teacher, he also teaches through his life. So Lord Shiva has taken the form of Hanumanji also. And as Hanumanji, he teaches us through his life, through his seva to Bhagavan Sri Ram, through his Nishkam Karma Yoga, through his Upasana, through his deep bhakti. So when we listen to the charitra of Hanumanji, we gain this knowledge. So Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Kripa Karahu Gurudev ki nahi. So Bhagavan Dakshinamurty, who is Lord Shiva, is Acharya Indra. He is the greatest of all teachers. He teaches in silence. He teaches through Jnana Mudra. He teaches through words of the scriptures like Shankaracharya ji. And he teaches through his own charitra like Hanumanji. If even that becomes difficult for us to comprehend, Bhagavan also holds Trishul in his hand. Trishul indicate the three types of afflictions which we experience in life. The Adhyatmic, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Daivik. The afflictions coming from our own body and mind, the disturbances which we experience in our surrounding, and the disturbance at the total level, at the cosmic level, the Trishul. So Bhagwan hits us with this Trishul at times to teach us lesson. The little sufferings which come in our life, they are the teachers only coming in our life. The suffering at the level of our body, the suffering at the level of our family, our society, the ups and downs happening in our nations and in the world. These are all teachings sent by Bhagavan Shivji only. He is hitting us with that Trishul, not to destroy us, not to hurt us, but to wake us. See, when a person is asleep, we just call that person by his name and he just wakes up. But there are those who sleep so deeply that even if you call, even if you shout, they don't get up, they don't wake up. You have to really shake them up and sometimes pour some cold water on them so that they get up with a start. Similarly, Bhagwan tries to teach us, wake us up from this sleep which we are having. We are asleep in this samsara. So he is trying to wake us up through his silence. But we can't hear that silence. Then he shows us the Jnana Mudra to wake us up. But we don't understand the Jnana Mudra. Then he teaches us with the various bhashya of Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya ji. Yushmadashmat pratyaya gocharayoho vishay vishenoho tamat prakashavat. Like that. And if that also is not understandable, then Bhagavan teaches us through his charitra. Sing Hanuman Chalisa, sing, dance, get inspired by Hanumanji. See, even we are sitting here and doing this satsang, there is a blessing of Hanumanji indirectly on us. All this technology which we use were inspired directly, indirectly by Hanumanji. Steve Jobs, he came to India, he visited Neem Karoli Baba and got inspired by Neem Karoli Baba. And Neem Karoli Baba was a great bhakt of Hanumanji and he had darshan of Hanumanji. So Hanumanji's blessings through Neem Karoli Baba went on Steve Jobs and he got so inspired. He invented and discovered so many new things which we are using even now to have our satsang. So Hanumanji teaches everyone through his charitra. But if that also becomes difficult, then he burns the whole Lanka. Then he uses his Trishul. Shivji uses his Trishul to teach us. And as I said, Dakshinamurty holds that Japamala. So that is the sadhana, a simple sadhana. He says the essence of all the spiritual practice is conveyed through the Japamala, that you just chant Bhagwan's name. Ram, 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 Ram. And in one hand he is holding that fire, which indicates the total dissolution of this world. The world comes from that Brahma, exists in Brahma, and again dissolves in Brahma to come up again. So this is cyclic, this goes on and on. The creation, sustenance, and dissolution happens constantly. There are infinite jivas, but we can become free by recognizing our own self. So Acharyendram, Dakshinamurti is Acharya Indra, the best among all the teachers, the king of all the teachers, the Indra of all the teachers. Karakalita Chinmudram. So through this Chinmudra he teaches Ananda Rupam. And how is Dakshinamurti Ananda Rupa? He is Ananda. See that Brahma is Satyam, means pure existence, which is experienced everywhere. Everything we experience as is because of the presence of that Brahma only. Then is Jnanam, pure knowledge, because of which we are aware of everything. Even when we are in deep sleep, that knowledge doesn't go to sleep. Deep sleep means the mind, intellect is not functioning, but we are awake. We are awake even in deep sleep. Jnanam doesn't go to sleep. And Anantam, infinite. But Dakshinamurti is also Anandam. Our supreme nature is Ananda. Therefore, in Taittiriya Upanishad it is said, Anandadeva khalvimani bhutani jayante, Anandena jatani jivanti, Anandam sam pravishanti. Everything emerges from Ananda, remains in Ananda, and again merges back into Ananda. So Ananda Rupam. And what does Dakshinamurti do? He just revels. Revels in what? Revels in his own self. Swatma Ramam. Constantly revels in his self. He is just existing as himself. Revels in his own self. In Gita also Bhagavan gives the lakshana of a sthita prajna. Ki prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmannevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. That a sthita prajna is one, and an enlightened person is one who has got no kamana, no desires, and he just rejoices in his own self. Atmarati, Atmakrida. So like that, Swatma Ramam, reveling in his own self. Mudita Vadanam, his face is pleasant. That joy which is there is expressing through his face. So Mudita Vadanam. Dakshinamurti Nide. That Dakshinamurti I worship. See, Dakshinamurti Bhagavan is present even now. This is not something of the past. Dakshinamurti is present, he is eternally existing. So we can meditate, bring that image in our mind and feel the presence of Dakshinamurti Bhagavan. And we will also be blessed by his deep silence and by his Chin Mudra, and the revelation of the Upanishads will happen. So this is a beautiful Dhyana Shloka to meditate on Bhagavan Sri Dakshinamurty. The second shloka also is very beautiful. कि वटविटपि समीपे भूमि भागे निषण्णं सकल मुनि जनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवन गुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जनन मरण दुःख छेददक्षं नमामि. Namami. I am doing namaskar. My namaskar to Sri Dakshinamurty Bhagavan. Namaskar means to surrender, to bring that feeling that nothing is mine. I myself belong to Bhagavan. To surrender. Like this index finger, which is myself, as I feel myself to be identified these three bodies. So I should detach from these three and just surrender to that Ishvara, who is represented by this thumb. And a very interesting thing happens that as we surrender to Ishvara, Ishvara also moves towards us. And then that meeting happens. That oneness is experienced. Then we are no longer two. In Mundaka Upanishad, Ishvara and Jiva are indicated as these two birds sitting on this tree of this world, tree of our body. These two birds are there. Dva suvarna sayuja sakaya samanam vriksham parishashvajate. Tayoranya pippalam swadvarti anashnananyo abhichakashiti. So two birds are sitting on the tree. One bird is busy eating the different fruits, and the other bird is just looking at it. When this fellow will surrender to me. He was busy eating, busy doing things in this world. But when I become detached from everything and surrender, I experience my oneness. I experience that Brahman. So, Namami. So I surrender. I do namaskar to that Dakshinamurty Bhagavan. So we have to imagine Vatavitapi Samipe Bhumi Bhage Nishannam. Bhagavan Dakshinamurty is seated under a tree. But what tree? Vata Vriksha, having so many branches and so many leaves. That giant Vata Vriksha, a banyan tree, which is so miraculous and so wonderful. In Gita also Bhagavan talks about it, Ashwatha Vriksha. The entire world is like a tree with its roots above and the branches below. So this tree, Vata Vriksha, actually in our Shastras, the various trees are also mentioned having their own personality. Like the mango tree is there, which is Shringara Pradhan, which is a depiction of beauty, of love, of being an ornament, Shringar. So when we want to decorate our homes and all, we put the leaves of this mango tree to decorate our homes. The toran is made from mango leaves. Bhagavan Krishna, when he plays his murli, he stands under the Kadamba Vriksha. The Kadamba Vriksha, expression of Bhagavan's joy and love. Gautam Buddha sat and meditated under a Bodhi Vriksha. Dattatreya Bhagwan loves Audumbar Vriksha. So like that, all these trees also have their own personality and their symbolic, in the sense, significance. So this Vata Vriksha, this banyan tree, represents faith, Shraddha, which is very, very important. If we want to gain knowledge, we have to have faith. Without faith, we cannot gain knowledge. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Faith in what? Faith in the teacher, faith in the Shastra, in the Vedas, the Upanishads, faith in Ishvara. In fact, all of them are one only, but in the beginning they appear like different. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Ishvara, Guru, Atma, and the Vedas are all one. So we have to have total trust and total faith. Then only we become open to listen and absorb. Without that faith, we close, we shut all the avenues for that blessing to enter our system. Bhagwan always is ready to bless us, but we only shut our doors and windows. Just like the rain, when it rains everywhere equally. In a particular region, rains everywhere. But sometimes the rain falls on a good soil which has got nice seeds. So these seeds germinate to form wonderful plants. But at times the rain falls on some stone, some hard rock, or it falls directly into some ocean or a river, or on the mountains, or in the valley. So depending on where it falls, how the soil is, what type of seeds are there, that growth happens. Similarly, Bhagwan showers his blessings on everyone. But if our antakarana has become like a stone, then we don't experience that blessings. But through our karma upasana, if we have tilled the soil and made it fertile and ready for that seed which is thrown into our antakarana through all this satsang, then it will grow by Bhagwan's blessings into beautiful plants with fragrant flowers and sweet fruits. So vata vitapi samipe bhumi bhage nishannam. So Dakshinamurty Bhagwan is seated under a huge banyan tree, having many branches. And lot of Rishi Munis are sitting around him. This is the picture of our Gurukul. The Gurukul used to be there in nature. Now our Gurukul or schools are going more and more away from nature. In a closed building, in AC rooms, we have our classes. And during this pandemic, we had classes in front of our laptops and other equipments. Even now we are having this satsang online, the modern way. But in the good old days, The traditional, our schools, gurukuls, used to be there in nature. So we can get the blessings of the trees also. The people vriksha, the vata vriksha, the mangoes and other trees which used to be there in the ashram, they blessed all the students. Also the plants giving beautiful flowers which can be used for regular puja. Then the birds visiting the ashram, then the cows and all giving fresh milk which can be used for not only consumption but for puja, the ghee, the dahi, Bhagavan Shivji's abhishek we could do. So that is the beautiful ashram atmosphere. So that is pointed out here that Bhagavan is seated under the tree, not having any possession, with nature, totally one with nature. And all the Rishi Munis are also seated around him. Sakala Muni Jananam. And what is he giving them? He is giving them Jnanam, Jnana Dataram Arat. Those who are seated in front of them, in front of him, he is bestowing that knowledge on them. Because that knowledge sometimes remains hidden. We might read the same shloka every day, but the real meaning may remain hidden for years together. And suddenly it gets revealed. You must have observed in your life also some shlokas, some mantras which you might have been chanting for years together. But then, by the blessings of some teacher, you come to understand the real significance of those mantras. And you are amazed that I was carrying this treasure, but I did not realize, I didn't know about it. So the teacher teaches Jnana Dataram. So he is just a teacher of few Rishi Munis? No. Dakshinamurty is the teacher of all the three worlds. Tribhuvana Gurum. He is the guru of the three worlds. Three worlds means the entire world. Three worlds means the higher world, the middle world, and the lower worlds. So Bhagavan not only teaches the higher world where the great devtas and all are there, Bhagavan teaches them also. They also require some lessons now and then. Then this Manushya Lok also Bhagavan teaches us. He takes various avatars as different gurus and teachers. And he teaches the Dhanavas also, those who are living in the lower world. They are also taught. They are not condemned. They are not condemned to eternal hell or something like that. That is also for their own growth. So they are taught to evolve from there. Even Ravan, Kumbhakarna and all, they evolved. They had committed some mistakes because of which they had become Rakshasas. But thereafter they evolved to gain that supreme enlightenment. So Tribhuvana Gurum, Isham, Dakshinamurty Devam, Dakshinamurty, Bhagavan, who is the greatest Devata, Dakshinamurty Devam, he gives this teaching. But what is the purpose? What is the use of this teaching? He said, Jaranam Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham Namami. Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda. This knowledge destroys the sorrow, the sufferings of this samsara. And what is samsara? Janana Marana. Constantly taking birth and dying. Because these three bodies, we identify with them, and the Sukshma Sharir, it goes from one body to another body. That itself is experienced as birth and death. So Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jathare Shayanam. Eha samsare bahudustare kripaya pare pahi murare. So again and again, taking birth in different life forms and dying. All this is full of sorrow, pain, suffering, fear. This itself is what is called samsara. So we cannot become free of this samsara by any means. We are helpless in front of this samsara. The only way to become free of samsara is through self-knowledge, through the knowledge which Dakshinamurty Bhagavan gives us. So Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham. He destroys the sorrows, pain of this samsara through this knowledge. So I am very happy all of you are listening to me. So this is we have been having classes on Facebook. So this is something new for me also. But I can see all of you who are listening, all those who have conveyed Hari Om and all, I can read. I can also say Hari Om to you all. With a nice smiley. Let me see where is that smiley. Okay. There you are. Okay. So we have seen these two shlokas from the Dhyana Shlokas, and it's the most beautiful actually, most fascinating. So you should learn this Dhyana Shloka and chant it regularly and meditate on the beautiful form of Dakshinamurty. Whoever you consider your guru, it is Dakshinamurty only who is speaking and who is conveying this knowledge through them. So just meditate on Dakshinamurty and take his blessings. And we will continue with this class on Monday. So till then, you take care. Be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy. Do your work, do your sadhana. And we will conclude with a prayer. Okay? We'll chant Bhagavan's name. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, 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 Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।